Hey guys, welcome back. This is where we left off. We just had added the icons to Xcode. What I want to do real quick, just because it's bothering me, is I guess we could have renamed these earlier, but it's just going to be annoying to find these later. Call that clouds. You can just hit twice, not double tap, but hit them twice, once and twice to edit the name. I guess we can just do that for all of them. And then so over here, let's rename. So cloudy is cool, hail, hazy, we'll say cloudy night. So I remember, last video for you, if you're watching, it was, a few minutes ago, if you kept watching videos, but since I recorded the last video, it's been a while, so I don't remember which of these icons I put for each one of the possible returns from the forecast API. Say rainy, snow. Change my mind about this. You can name it whatever you want, just something you have to remember. I guess this was clear night. Call this windy. In general, try to keep the same kind of, for the way we're going to set it up, it's not going to matter, but in general, try to keep a same kind of format. If it's going to be lowercase, let it be lowercase. This little separation where each the second word, like in a string of words, you can't have spaces in names. I guess you can have names, but in general in programming you can't. This is called camel case. So every once in a while when you have a new word, you just capitalize the first letter of the next word. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I don't know anybody's experience level, so in general I'm just going to throw out tips. Ignore them, obviously, if you know. But otherwise I'm going to throw there. So clear day, clear night. Rename this to cloudy. Being very particular. Probably overly particular. Cloudy day, cloudy night, hail, haze. I think we're going to call this foggy. Probably. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure that's foggy. Foggy, hail, rain, snow, windy. Cool. And then we had a bunch of these errors last time. You can click over here to look at the errors. You can also click up here with the exclamation mark. I don't remember exactly, honestly. If you can't have these slashes, I think they have to be under slashes, underscores. I think underscores is the right word for that. So let's just change that real quick. Just change all of those to underscores. See if the errors go away. Don't worry about this error. Every once in a while, you'll get this error when you import stuff through CocoaPods. It'll forget that you imported it, and it'll give you this error. This is no such module fire. Sometimes it gives build errors, but usually after the first time you get it working, this error might pop up occasionally, but when you run the app, it actually won't have any effect. So I kept going here to put in the images and in various parts of other videos, and then got sidetracked or whatever, but we can do that now. So in general enumerations, you can give them a raw value. We can't do it with UI images. If we could, we would put UI image here as the type that this is supposed to be. And then I guess you would give it a value of clear day. So Swift is one of the only languages where you can literally put an image in rather than you can actually put an image into the code rather than it used to be something more like this. It would be UI image, and then you would give it the name of the image. It's not even given the option. But anyways, let's see if this works. How about that? Case label only appears inside a switch statement. Anyways, that's a really unhelpful error, but let's ignore that. One thing we could do is this. So on some enumerations in Swift, you can specify its type, whether it be a string or integer or whatever, but not in this case. So what we can do is we can say that this enumeration has a type called image, and it's a type UI image. And then what we can do is a switch statement. A switch statement in Swift and or any other language is a way of saying if this, then do that, if that, then do this. We haven't used it in our code in general, but like how you normally would do that, you would say like if, and then some condition, and then do something. Otherwise, like else if this, then do this. So, and then usually you have like one final condition. If this is a if else block statement, we might end up using it in a different part of the thing. I mean, we kind of do here in the bottom. We say if we can get the current summary from the weather that we get back, if there's something called summary, we set it to this variable, otherwise we skip forward. It's kind of the same thing. A switch kind of does that for us, but when we know what the possible values are, which we do, we know the only value that can be passed in is one of these, then we can explicitly say, in the case of clear day, return clear day. So we would do that like this. We would say case. We're doing dot. So normally in switch, in parentheses, in Swift you don't have to put parentheses, but you would say what you're switching on, what possibilities you're switching between. In this case we're doing self because we're using weather icons, the values themselves. And actually, if you see when I type it in before I put the F in, it's you that it's expecting weather icons, which is what we want. So then for each case you can just hit the dot operator, which opens up all the possibilities that self could be, and then we have all our variables here. And then you'd say like in case of a clear day, return clear day. Now if we just do this, we're going to get an error, and you'll see it in a second here. Ignore this top error. I know it's annoying. We should be getting an error, but this top error is causing error, so it's not even getting down here. But let's just say, so we clean our code. I actually don't remember where it is in here. Here it is, clean. Shortcuts Shift Command K, which I always use. So I haven't used the drop downs in a while. So we clean this up. Still gonna be there. That doesn't help. Let's try running this and see if that error goes away. I can just tell you what this error is gonna be here, but I'd rather it just say it. I think an important part of learning iOS development is getting used to the error messages that are pretty common, and most of them are generally pretty helpful. There's some that are like a little bit cryptic, but for the most part it's cool. So right now I just click play to have it run on the editor. Hopefully that error will go away, and then we'll get a helpful one. Don't look at this. You cannot see this. So it failed. This error is still here, which we can ignore, I guess, for now. Here's the error that I was talking about. Switch must be exhaustive. This is actually cool. I didn't know this option was here. So normally a way of fixing this, the error that's complaining about is that since we're saying we know what the possibilities are, we have to have something happen for every possibility. So for each one, we would have to have like, all right, clear day, do this, clear night, then do this. Which we could do. It's actually offering, if you see an error like for the Alamo Fire one, it was exclamation point. When it's a dot like this, that usually means if you click on it, it has a suggested fix. In this case, it's offering to add the missing cases, which would be great because it's faster than if I type it. And yeah, it actually did. Also, general rule of thumb. Delete this. general rule of thumb, when you use switch statements, if you don't specify, depending on the language, if you don't specify for it to stop after it does this, if you don't say put this break statement in, then it'll fall through. So it'll fall. In this case, it doesn't matter, because once we hit this return statement, once any one of these returns, nothing else happens behind it, and it gets returned. Also, in general, how we would use this is like this. We'd say weather icons dot clear day, and then we would do dot image, and you can see that on the left it says what type it returns, which is UI image, and when we do that, it will return whatever this switch statement coincides with. What I was thinking about after the last video, though, and after this one, I wanted to show you how to do this. There's gonna be cases where this makes sense, but I was thinking about, if we look at what's getting returned as an icon, it's a string variable, and I'm thinking there's definitely a way to turn a string variable, figure out what it is, and then get the coinciding enumeration from weather icons. But I think that might not be the way to do it. Since we are going to get a string variable, what I'm thinking about using is a dictionary. Also, I'm noticing here that we're not currently getting the actual icon from the information. So how about this? Let's delete this image variable. When we do that, that'll be fine. And then we can just take out this enumeration. Just follow along, you'll see what's going on in a sec. So let's say this icon is give it a UI image, and then we can give this a default value that we want, but I'll say, like, I guess we'll do clear day for the default. That's personal preference. I don't know if we've seen this anywhere else in the code, but like when you put a variable and you put this colon, you can specifically define its type afterward. Swift implicitly can guess what type you probably mean. So like if I just put an image here after I name this icon, then it'll figure out that I want it to be an image. Sometimes I like to specify specifically. You have to do that in general if you're not going to give something a value. Like if I want to say that icon doesn't always have to exist, I'd have to specify what type it is. But we're not going to do that, so we'll just leave that. Then what I want to say is we're gonna define a dictionary. The way you do that is like so. So what a dictionary is, a way of relating values, two values, key and a value. So the key we're going to use is string, which we're going to get from the weather data, which will be, so we can actually just fill it up and you'll get an idea of what exactly it is. So like it would be clear day, and then this would be clear day. So in general, we can get the icon. We can get the icon from the current weather. So if like current icon, it's current weather, let it do the auto completion, and then let's see what it's called. This is what we need, icon. As was it a string? Yeah, string to string. So I don't know if I mentioned it before, but this is called optional changing. We can't say for sure that whatever this value is going to be able to be converted into a string. We know it's going to be because we know its value, but that might change in the future, or so that means this video might have changed. So you should double check it yourself, but in general, you don't want to assume anything about your code. You want to error proof it. So we're saying if there's a value called current weather, inside current weather called icon, first of all, and it can be converted into a string. Assign it to this variable, and then do whatever inside in between these two brackets. Otherwise, skip it. So that way, if either this is incorrect or it can't be converted, then it just skips it and no harm, no foul. So then if that is there, then we'll use the icons dictionary, which I named icons dict. And then we have to pass it a string value, which is our key, which we're getting from here. And then you can actually see here, it says value of optional type UI image not unwrapped. Did you mean to use a bang exclamation mark, or a parentheses? So the reason why it's giving me this error is because it's not guaranteed that any string that we pass into the icons dictionary is going to give back a UI image. That's what it's saying. It's saying it's optional, so it's not for sure that it will have one. And it's true because currently we only have it handling clear day, and so for clear night and everything else, it'll return nothing. So in the same way that we did this little like if let check there, we can do it here too. So let me just Control K to cut that out, and then I'll say if let say icon image equals this. So this is going to say if it returns a value, this will have its unwrapped value here, and then we'll set the icon to that image. And then if it doesn't have anything, then it'll just have this default value, which is not a big deal. Reference property icons dictionary enclosure requires self. This is an error that I make all the time. It's just not paying attention, but since the icons dictionary is outside of this closure, this block of code that happens later on, we have to give it an explicit reference to what we're talking about. Okay, and that should do that. And then we have to do the rest of this work for like each icon. So I'm gonna give myself some space. I need this. And then I could have looked this up before, but in case you don't remember, I can just find this again. What we need is a documentation. Dark sky. We need documentation so we can see what all the values are, and then we'll put them here in this dictionary. It's not the best way to do it. I like the enumeration approach too, but dictionaries are something you're going to use a lot. This is a dictionary. You can do this with all different types. In this case, we're doing we made a dictionary that's of type string, with a key of type string, and then a value of a UI image. So I want to see what all the possible icons are, and then we'll just type one by one. And it's not a big deal to do so because there's not that many. Okay, cool. Clear day, you separate dictionary values with a comma. Clear day, clear night, and then rain. The order doesn't matter. It's gonna basically what this does. It gives this key a hashed value, something that in programming it's basically constant or instant lookup when you want to check for it, which is really quick. It's easy. You don't have to know where in the list it is. You can just pass it a key, which is a string in this case, and it'll return you a value. And then we named these better earlier in the video, so it's easy to see what we need. So sleet, I think we called hail. Okay. That was an accident. Wind. We have a wind variable. I'm letting it do the auto completion just so I don't make a simple mistake. It is important that these values are correct, otherwise it's going to not return, and it's going to be kind of it's going to be tricky testing something like this because we're not going to be able to fake all these values. There might be a way. I haven't looked that far into the documentation if they have a way of do that, but it'll be better if we just be super careful now and not have to worry about it. And then we call this cloudy day, and then partly dash cloudy. If you're wondering why there's no error for this dash here and there was before when we're doing enumerations, it's because in a string you can have pretty much whatever you want. So it's not going to cause any kind of errors or anything. Cloudy night. Cool. So now we got all our values in. Now we can close this one out. Let's quickly go back and see. I'm not sure if we set up a place for icon yet in the storyboard. Takes a second to load every once in a while, depending on how much you spent on your Mac, which I think we all spent. Maybe too much, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So it looks like it might be empty or whatever, so a quick way to check is if you hit this tab on the bottom, it opens up everything here. So you see we have 4 labels. That's all we have in the scene. So we need a icon, something for our icon. What it's called is a UI image, or in this case it's called an image view. Displays a single image or animation described by an array of images. So pop this in here. I think we should make it a little smaller. I don't know, say like 40 by 40. If you hit tab, by the way, it just skips between fields, any enterable fields, just to save some time. Right now it's going to be red because it doesn't know relatively where to go, and that's also the reason why it didn't get any smaller. So if you hit Control, press, and drag to time, you can say center horizontally. Also, if you hold Shift and press it, then you can hit 2 separate options at the same time, and then just hit Add Constraints. And now it's sized, everything's cool. We can actually change the name here so it's more obvious. Icon image. Let's do this. This is an editor, so we can I don't know if that's going to work well. Controller.swift. Sweet. Now we can control, press, and drag to the screen here. And then we can say icon image camel case like I mentioned earlier. And then in this update UI, we can say icon image dot image equals weather dot our new variable, which is icon. Okay, let's just test this out, see what happens, see if we get a good value. And then that'll probably wrap up the video, and see in the next one. We gotta do some important stuff with location, or at least the ability to enter location manually. And then we obviously have to make this look a lot nicer. And then if you remember, there was an issue with like default values showing up before anything else. Launching weather, so we don't have any issues. And our simulator is hiding somewhere off screen. There you go. So I generally leave the simulator up. This is the first time we've run it successfully, so it takes a little bit longer to load in on this try. Wow, that took some time. So we got clear, we should probably add some labels too, because I don't remember what these are. We haven't addressed this time issue yet. So that's our temperature, clear, night. We got our icon, so that's pretty cool. We learned about dictionaries. We should definitely clean this up, change some fonts, move around some stuff, decide if we want decimal points in our temperature. We'll do this all next video, and also figure out what this is and how to make it into something that's readable by humans. which is actually more complicated than it should be, but it's something that you're gonna have to learn. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for tuning in.